tere tulemast vaatama minu NATO vlogi. Hommikut alustasin ma Tallinna lennujaama lounge'is, kus ma sõin pisikese hommikusöögi. Lend läks kell 6 hommikul, seega üpris vara. See ei olnud otsalend, vaid läbi Helsinki, siin on näha Helsinki lounge'i. Ja nüüd lendasingi juba Helsingist Brüsselisse. Möödunud suvel töötasin ma Brüsselis, Eesti alalises esinduses Euroopa Liidu juures, seega Brüssel on mulle üpris tuttav linn. Ma võtsin lennujaamast otse rongi, et minna siis kesklinna rongijaama. See on tegelikult üpris mugav, sõit kestab kuskil 20 minutit. Pärast seda oli meil siis kõikide tiimi liikmetega kohtumine hotelli baaris. Ma jõudsin nüüd tagasi enda tuppa. Meie welcome coffee oli väga tore. Kõik inimesed olid tõesti väga toredad, korraldajad olid väga toredad. Me rääkisime homsetest ja ülehomsetest plaanidest. Meil tulevad tõesti väga tihedad päevad. Nii et nüüd kell on mingisugune 7:30. Ma jõudsin oma tuppa tagasi, ma käin pesus ära ja ma lähen magama, et ma oleksin homseks välja puhanud ja värske, et kõikide tegevuste puhul endast maksimum anda. Ja kuna ma tõesti pole NATO peakorteris varem käinud, siis ma olen väga-väga elevil. Nii et jah, hea tööd praegu ja näeme homme. Mõtlesin, et äkki keegi on huvitatud, nii et ma lisasin siia sisse pisikese hotellitoa tuuri ka. Kui ma Brüsselis elasin, siis ma elasin hästi pisikeses korteris ja võib-olla natuke siukses ohtlikumas regioonis, nii et mul oli väga tore peatuda Brüsseli kesklinnas, vanalinnas täpsemalt, nii et hästi äge asukoht ja väga hea hotell. Brüsselis, me oleme NATO peakorteris, no siin on näha ka Eesti lippu. Siin on kõigi 32, nüüdseks 32, sellepärast et Rootsi ja Soome liitusid KAS ja NATO-ga lipud. Me oleme nüüd siin NATO ruumis ja meil anti sellised kotid ja kohe varsti hakkavad tegevused pihta. Nii et tulge minuga. That'll obviously take a long time, but you know, it's possible. Okay. But every country having their own delegation means that every country is responsible for that. Me oleme nüüd siin NATO lippude juures. Lõunal on meil intervjuu ambassador Julianne Smithiga, kes on USA suursaadik NATO juures. Nii et ma väga-väga ootan seda siiamaani väga-väga põnev. Siin räägib tuurijuht meile NATO foneetilisest tähestikust ja see on siis selline tähestik, mille iga tähe juures on üks sõna, et igas keeles oleks arusaadav, millist tähte täpselt nimetatakse. See on eriliselt oluline, kui saadetakse mingisuguseid julgeolekuga seonduvaid sõnumeid. Siin on näha siis president Kennedyt. Saksamaa liitumislepingu allkirjastamine on siin ja North Atlantic Treaty ametlik allkirjastamine.
As I was mentioning, when all the countries, especially the countries that you're all from, came to your leaders came to basically talk about, hey, how do we get in? How do we get to be part of this club, right? So they came in, and part of the SecGen's job is to act as diplomatic liaison. So this is where famous people are sat, and again, they're pretty comfortable, right? Very. Because the idea is, to get people to talk, you want them to be comfortable. You don't stress them out, right? So it's icebreakers. So here, for example, in those chairs, you can see George H.W. Bush. You can literally see it's the same furniture. Nice. And for several of you, there's Lech Walesa. There's Václav Havel sitting in that chair.
Feel powerful.
Helmut Kohl. Yeah. German reunification times happening here. Okay, there's Kofi Annan sitting in the chairs. There's Al Gore. He's now the king of the Netherlands, but back then he was the prince. But him, speaking of king, there's King Juan Carlos. There's Tony Blair. So again, the office there, if this speaks to administrative, that speaks to, oh yeah, you'll recognize, from Lithuania. One of the things you kind of notice is that there's no women yet, right? So one of the things that this is open to is that this is the desk that was used by the Secretary General, our Cold War desk from 1960 to 1995. You're welcome to take your photo behind the desk.
Nüüd sõbrad, ma istun siin diivani peal, kus on istunud maailma liidrid. No see diivan on tõesti väga pehme ja mugav.
Just enne mainisin NATO foneetilist tähestikku, meil on siis raamatud, kus on tähed, kõik tähestiku tähed ja siis sõna juures, näiteks siis D on delta.
Thank you. See on Eesti liitumisdokument NATOga ja kui ma ei eksi, siis selle on allkirjastanud Kristiina Ojuland, kes oli tollel ajal Eesti välisminister. Minuga on asejuht Eesti NATO esinduses ja palun rääkige, millised on Eesti prioriteedid NATOs?
Eesti esimene prioriteet NATOs on jätkuvalt muutunud. Tagada Eesti kaitstus, tagada, et meie sõjavägi oleks võimalikult tugev ja võimekas ja samuti tagada heidutus, et võimalikel vastastel ei tuleks pähegi Eestit rünnata või Eesti liitlasi rünnata. Ja selle kõrval nüüd viimased 2-3 aastat on arusaadavalt ka laiem julgeolekupilt, arvestades seda, mis toimub Ukrainas.
Aga rääkige natuke ka oma igapäevatööst siin NATOs. Kas tõesti on niimoodi, et tulete hommikul tööle ja peate kappi oma telefonid, laptopid ära panema, et kõik oleks turvaline või kuidas teie igapäeva elu ja töö siin NATOs välja näeb?
Igapäevaelu minul NATOs on tõesti niimoodi, et hommikul 8-9 vahel tööle, siis elektroonika kõik kõrvale ja seda elektroonikat, kuigi vahepeal saab näha, siis ega me seda kapist otseselt välja ei võtta enne kuni kuskil õhtul 6-7. Sinna vahele jääb siis hunniktööd, nii siin kohtumised liitlastega, kohtumised nende pealinnadest tulnud ekspertide ja poliitikutega, kohtumised Eesti ekspertide poliitikutega, nõupidamised kõikidel erinevatel NATO teemadel, alates kaitseheidutus, välispoliitika, kuni isegi kliimapoliitika ja arusaadavalt selle kõige kokkukirjutamine, rääkimata sellest, et pidevalt ennast kursis hoida kõige sellega, mis maailmas toimub.
Aitäh leidmast see aeg ja head tööd meile siin NATOs.
Palun.
Veel väike lõuna. Siin on ainult meil influenceritest koos, nii et head isu, mul kõht juba täitsa tühi.
No sõbrad, sellel hetkel ma olin tõesti juba närvis, sellepärast et kohe algas minu intervjuu suursaadik Julianne Smithiga.
Dear Madam Ambassador, what are the top priorities for NATO in the current geopolitical climate, and how is the United States contributing to addressing these challenges within the alliance?
So we've got a couple of priorities right now. First and foremost, Russia. Russia is the #1 threat facing the alliance. We have to support our friends in Ukraine and stop Putin so that he doesn't go any further. But also we have to make sure that that's not only an important message for Russia to hear, but other countries are watching very carefully. China is looking at what's happening in Ukraine and taking lessons. What is China seeing right now? It's seeing the NATO alliance come together to join forces to support Ukraine and stand up for international law, sovereignty, territorial integrity. So our priorities here are Russia, but also we're watching what China is doing. Its relationship with Russia is getting deeper and evolving, so we're keeping a watchful eye on that. Terrorism remains a threat that we track here in the alliance and take seriously. And then instability in the Western Balkans. We're keeping a watchful eye there, making sure that stability continues to take root. NATO has forces in the Western Balkans. We want to make sure that they're ready for any flashpoints or instability. So basically what we say around NATO is we have a 360-degree approach, which means we watch what's happening in Ukraine, but we also watch developments in the Arctic, in the North Atlantic, in the Mediterranean, in the Middle East, and even in the Western Balkans. So we are, again, trying to prepare for all contingencies, but those are kind of our key priorities.
Speaking of Russia, a lot of people in Estonia are very anxious right now. They're scared of, first of all, because of Russia's war against Ukraine, and secondly, because of the threat of Russia using nuclear weapons. So my question is, should we be legitimately scared of this scenario playing out?
Well, I would say a couple of things on that. One, the Russia threat is very serious, and it's wonderful that Estonia is a full-fledged member of the alliance and contributing to what's happening in Ukraine and supporting them. It's wonderful that Estonia is an active member of the alliance, always working with us on a variety of new challenges. But I think what's also important is that ultimately we find a way to come together and take on not just the challenges as it relates to what Russia is doing now in Ukraine, but we think about what Russia might do or is doing to us. And that takes us to cybersecurity. Estonia has experienced major cyber attacks, and we depend on Estonian expertise. We have to be stronger on disinformation. The Russians use that all the time, and coercion. There's a whole toolkit that they use on a regular basis. And so we want to make sure that we're first and foremost helping our friends in Ukraine push the Russians out, but making sure that you, Estonia, have everything you need for your security. I do not think an attack is imminent. I don't think it's coming in the short term. I think we have to be prepared for anything that Russia might do, but I will assure you that this alliance is prepared, and it's developing new tools and policies to make sure that you're safe and that we can defend every inch of NATO territory.
That's absolutely great to hear. Thank you so much. And my last question is regarding technology. So what is the most recent technology that NATO has incorporated into its operations and capabilities in the fields such as artificial intelligence, unmanned systems, and maybe even space-based assets?
Yes, so over the past couple of years, NATO used to be an alliance that basically focused on land, sea, and air. But what's happened is that we've started to realize that space and cyber are two new domains for the alliance. So we're developing a whole array of policies and tools to deal with those challenges. But we're also looking at new technologies. We're investing in autonomous systems that can help us either in the air or at sea. So those are good examples of where we're trying to not only protect our technological edge, but invest in new technology as well.
Thank you so much, Madam Ambassador. It was an honor to meet you.
It was great to meet you. Take care.
Meil oli suursaadik Julianne Smithiga kohtumine ära. Meil on tund aega vaba aega. Kuna mina kohtusin Eesti delegatsiooniga juba ära, teised lähevad veel enda esindajatega kohtuma, aga kuna Eesti esindajatel ei olnud see kellaaeg vaba, siis ma kohtusin endaga juba enne ära, nii et mul on ekstra veel tund, nii et mul on 2 tundi vaba aega. Ja kohtumine läks väga hästi. Ma loodan, et intervjuu läks ka hästi, et ma ei puterdanud, aga tõesti suur au oli rääkida sellise inimesega, kes omab nii suurt teadlikkust selle üle, mis päriselt toimub, kuidas NATO meid kaitseb ja mida siin igapäevaselt tehakse, nii et see oli suurepärane võimalus. Nüüd viidi meid külastama NATO stuudiot. See on video- ja fotostuudio, kus käivad riigijuhid andmas intervjuusid ja ainult hetk enne meie jõudmist stuudiosse käis seal NATO peasekretär Jens Stoltenberg.
Wow, that's great. Me oleme siin NATO stuudios, kus käivad siis tähtsad külalised rääkimas ja siin on näha seda stuudiot, siin on mitu ekraani, siin on uhked kaamerad ümberringi, valgused, siin on tõesti mega lahe. Täna oli väga toimekas päev. Me saime teha USA suursaadikuga NATO juures intervjuu. Lisaks õnnestus mul kätte saada ka Eesti esinduse NATO juures asejuht, kelleks on Andre Lipants. Meile tehti tuur NATO peamajast ja see oli tõesti enneolematu kogemus. See on väga suur hoone, siin toimub väga palju, see on seest üleni klaasist, et see on taotluslikult niimoodi tehtud, et kõik oleks justkui läbipaistev, aga samas ilmselgelt siin majas vahetatakse rohkem salajast informatsiooni kui arvatavasti kuskil mujal maailmas, nii et see oli tõesti väga-väga põnev.
nii, me jõudsime nüüd siia rooftopi juurde. See on siinsamas kõige kõrgemal korrusel. Meid pannakse vist seal maha ja siis me lähmegi sinna kohvikusse. Ja vaadake seda vaadet, palun, mega.
Bingo.
Let's go.
So dinner.
So without going to hotel first,
okay.
Huh?
No. So where do you want all to have dinner?
So,
starting from the beginning
I
then.
am telling you all that we're going to this food hall. Look at what food is there. If there's nothing, then we're going to hotel.
If it is 20 restaurants, we'll find
okay.
something.
Okay.
Oh, anyway, if the dinner is like
You want cheap? I
like,
will buy for you some food, don't worry.
when you're right, then like in the same direction.
Okay guys, let's go.
Estonia is one of the best countries in the world after Lithuania.
Yeah, and they don't have a lot of people. But those that they do, well,
Those several that they do, you know them, yeah, right?
Yes, I know them all.
wear suits like Margaret Thatcher.
Oh, wow.
Or they're naked in a sauna.
Well, okay,
I
yours
have no such experience.
Hei, me jõudsime nüüd siia Saksamaale. Me lähme lennubaasi.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hi.
My name's Jason, by the way.
Nice to meet you.
Desiree, nice to meet you. I like the pin on your jacket.
Thank you very much.
So Desiree, feel free to have a seat, whatever you prefer.
So you can start just explaining what is this part of the...
Yeah. So this is essentially where the two pilots are going to sit. So generally speaking, you'll have an aircraft commander that'll sit to the left, and then we'll have a first pilot that sits on the right. And they essentially work together to make sure that we have a safe, directive flight to get us off the ground and wherever we need to go. We'll have a flight engineer here, and they're essentially the expert on the airplane. Absolutely instrumental in making sure we're able to fly safely. And then we'll have another seat here for a safety observer, or if someone wants to see us do the takeoff, the landing. We used to have a navigator sit right there where you're sitting right now, sir, but we've essentially transitioned them out with the upgrade of some of our systems. But this right here is going to give us the data on what's going on with the engines and any sort of warnings or cautions that we need to be aware of. So for instance, if something is going wrong on the airplane, if it's not represented on the flight engineer panel, more than likely we'll see it right here. And that'll give us an idea of what's going on. 1, 2, 3, and 4 represents each of the 4 engines we have on the wing. So the more you push it up, the more thrust, the more power that you can get, and then obviously the more you pull it back. Kind of like hitting the brake on your car, if you will.
This is an old technology or a new one?
I wouldn't say old or new, but it's a combination of both.
Okay.
It's something that's still relevant today, if you will. Yeah. It's on board today, appreciate it. Of course.
Siin on tõsiselt lahe. Me saime rääkida ühe piloodiga, kes jagas meile oma kogemust siin töötamisega. 13 tundi õhus järjest. Siin on voodid, kus piloodid saavad vahepeal ja tiimiliikmed saavad vahepeal magada. Superkangelased.
The more aircraft we have to talk to at once, the more difficult it gets, right? So every time you take like 40, maybe 50 fighter jets and put them into the same area, I mean, that's a lot of aircraft in one area, right? And our responsibility right here is to make sure that they're safe, that they don't fly into each other, and that they know about all the threats that might be around them, right?
And what happens when you detect a threat?
So what happens is we'll tell anyone that we're talking about, we'll tell them about that threat, right? So if we're talking to fighter aircraft, we will let them know, hey, there's something popping up here. Watch out, right? Don't fly in that direction, for instance. And we will also report it up the chain of command in NATO so they know.
What has been one of your craziest stories working here?
Oof, I don't know. I mean, it's honestly not that crazy, right? But some of those missions when you control like a lot of aircraft at once, it's always exciting because there's just a lot to do in a short amount of time, right? So yeah, so I think that's the most exciting for me.
Right, thank you.
You were playing like a piano master.
Sometimes it feels that way, right?
Nagu ma enne teile ütlesin, siis tiimiliikmed saavad siin ka magada. Siin on spetsiaalselt kokku käivad voodid, mida nad saavad kasutada. Siin on selline puhkeala ja kindlasti ka lisareisijate jaoks mõeldud istmekohad, kui on vaja rohkem inimesi pardale võtta. Mulle öeldi, et siia lennuki pardale, mis on Boeing 707, mahub ligikaudu 30 inimest. Tegelikult mahuks rohkem, aga igaks juhuks on siuke standardpiir pandud. Lennuki pardal on ühest küljest ruumi, aga teisest küljest on siin ikkagi päris kitsas. Kui me vaatame kas või neid voodeid, siis ega neil palju ruumi ei ole. Aga samas on piisavalt, et puhata ja ringi liikuda. Siin on ka telefon ja siin on erinevad süsteemid. Igaks juhuks mainin, et süsteemid, ekraanid, kõik on turvanõuete tõttu kinni pandud, et me oma videote peale siis midagi sellist tundlikku ja salajast ei püüaks. Aga me siiski näeme, missugused erinevad süsteemid siin on. Me näeme ka seda, kui palju seda spetsiifilist tehnikat siin on. Ja enne ma vestlesin ühe piloodiga, kes ütles, et nad omandasid kõik süsteemide opereerimise mõne kuuga. Ja mulle tundub see täiesti uskumatuna. Ilmselgelt tegu on äärmiselt võimekate inimestega, aga tõesti müts maha. Et see ei saa olla lihtne töö. Neil on ka pisikesed pliidid siin ja ilmselgelt on neil väga palju sellist purgitoitu, kuna see säilib kaua ja seda on lihtne teha. Aga no need on tõesti väga armsad. Ma eeldan, et nendes kapikestes ongi toit.
Well, we warm up our food.
Igapäevane kontroll meie õhuterritooriumile. No, for ruining all my videos.
Life goes by and you have to adapt for the troubles the others people do. Don't look at the life through the pink glasses.
Do you want to say something to Estonia?
Of course, Estonia. I love all those beautiful people that are living in them. Enjoying being in Tallinn. When I will be there, I will give you a call, right? Be friendly.
Pärast õhubaasi külastust läksime me NATO enda sööklasse, kus käivad igapäevaselt tiimiliikmed siis söömas ja no valik oli selles suhtes päris korralik, portsjonid olid suured, ilmselgelt kuna nemad teevad igapäevaselt väga palju trenni, füüsilist tööd, siis nad ka peavad palju sööma, aga see oli tõesti väga äge kogemus ja ega tegelikult sellega meie reis läbi saigi, et siis ma läksin lennujaama ja siin on näha, kuidas ma Brüsselist õhku tõusen ja Eesti poole lendan. Ma loodan, et teile meeldis see vlog ja suur aitäh vaatamast!